Good afternoon. Thank you for being patient with us with our delay. We had our retiree ceremony. It went a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we are ready. So thank you for coming to the webinar with Josh and I, and we are going to share a modified version of the budget presentation just to share with you the adjustments that we made and then take your questions. So the proposed budget is an increase of about $2.4 million. And so you can see that the total amount that is in the proposed budget that's been approved by the board is $140,747,738. And when we reworked the budget, we for sure kept the Board of Education strategic questions top of mind, which is fiscal responsibility, making sure that we are progressing the academic program, and then addressing the social emotional learning for all of our students. And then, of course, we have our strategic priorities in our 5-year strategic plan. And so when we looked at how we were going to reduce the budget so that it would be within the tax cap, we wanted to make sure that we were continuing to progress forward based on the identified areas that we'd be working on collectively as a district. And so now Josh is going to talk through some of the financial slides.
Sure. So previously our budget to budget increase was 2.57%. Our budget to budget increase now is 1.77%. And our tax levy increase is a little bit higher than that because of the decreased use of fund balance. So our tax levy increase is 1.81%, which is exactly at the tax cap limit for Chappaqua schools.
Which means in order for the budget to be approved, 50% of those who are voting would have to vote in the affirmative for the budget. And so we just want to talk about how we got to this place. And we did this through a process with the board that included work sessions prior to the adoption of the proposed budget at the beginning of this week. And so we needed to do two things. We needed to look at our expenditures and decrease them. And we also looked at whether or not we were going to increase some more of our unrestricted fund balance use towards balancing out the budget, which we both decided to do. But before we start to talk about how we reshaped the budget these past 2 weeks, I want to remind everyone that we've already reduced in this budget from the last proposal, one central office administrator and one high school faculty member due to low course enrollment. And then the other things that we did in the budget to get down to the levy limit is that we decided based on staff member requests that we would be transferring 2 staff developers into the classroom and that we wouldn't fill those positions. So we would reduce the PD team by 2. And then we looked at our summer course offerings for our faculty, and we felt comfortable reducing that by about $30,000. As you know from my previous comments, if you had been watching any of the meetings, we reduced the 3 additional school resource officers that we put in the budget, which was about $600,000. And then we had a part-time position at the business office that we were going to move to full-time. We decided to keep that part-time. And so that saved us about $45,000. And then we reduced some of our operation and maintenance line based on some projections and some deferments that we could make in some of the work that we had planned to do. And then we also reduced some of our consultant contracts. We were able to, in working with the principals at the middle school, we were able to reduce a clerical position that wasn't filled. And then because of the way that civil service works, there is we basically, because we have some retirements that we need to fill and some replacements that we need to do, we anticipate we're going to be saving about $20,000 because there's a delay in hiring just because of the process. And so, Josh, you want to talk a little bit about unrestricted fund balance?
So we are able to increase our use of unrestricted fund balance. We have some more information. One is for the 23-24 school year, we're going to be selling back old technology equipment, and we're anticipating receiving about $100,000. And due to high interest rates, we've earned about $1.7 million in 23-24, where we budgeted $950,000, which makes us comfortable of increasing about $300,000 additional use of fund balance to keep us at 4% fund balance, as well as transferring money into our restricted reserves. And then here, just the highlighted numbers are the values that have changed from the previous budget to this budget. It's really in salaries, benefits, and O&M. And you could see especially in salaries, we're now at about a flat year to year for salaries and a little bit less of a benefits increase. Here, I just wanted to highlight the shifts in property taxes from 2.99 to 1.81% in this new budget. Again, and you can see at the bottom, the total budget is 1.77%. And then here, if you look at this budget, and if you draw a line right through this budget where it's just below 2%, you have half of the dots above and half of the dots below that. So we're right at the median for about the budget increases for the past 15 years. And then here is just showing our property tax cap that our formula gets us right to 1.81%, and we are asking the public for exactly 1.81% increase. And here just is, we have two towns in the Chappaqua School District, Newcastle and Mount Pleasant. For the Newcastle, this is going to represent a 2.22% increase, and Mount Pleasant, negative 3.42%, well, a 3.42% decrease. And if you go to our website, there's a property tax calculator where you could plug in your actual assessments, and you can find out your estimated taxes for the next school year in this, from this budget.
Right, so I just want to remind everyone the work that we've done on safety and security in this district over the past few years, because I think it's important based on some of the adjustments that we've made in the budget. So we have had multiple audits done of the high school and of our elementary and middle school buildings, and we have done a significant amount of work based on recommendations in those audits and best practices in how to keep schools safe. So we have created person traps, and we've put electronic locks on all the classrooms and the exterior doors, and we have lockdown buttons in the hallways, and we have video surveillance throughout the buildings. And we practice regularly with our staff and our students, our drills and our procedures with the Newcastle Police Department. And we have increased security personnel at Greeley. We have anonymous alerts. We have psychologists who've been trained in how to do risk assessments to make sure we're keeping all kids safe. We've increased our fencing. So we've done a lot of work to make sure that we are on the cutting edge of what schools should look like in today's day and age, to make sure that we are creating an environment for our students that is safe. And in the budget already, we had different opportunities to enhance our security practices that we were already considering, and these have remained. So some AI technology, extending some of our critical incident mapping techniques that we use with the Newcastle Police. We're going to put an electronic gate at Greeley for the back entrance, increasing our radio expansion, increasing our door alarms, increasing some of the film we have on some of our glass. So we've been doing a lot of work, and we will continue to do the work to make sure that we are providing the safest possible environment for our kids. And then I also just wanted to go over class sections and sizes, because we didn't change anything from the original budget. So you can just see here what if the proposed budget is approved, what the average class sizes would be next year across all 3 elementary schools. And you'll see that we've evened it out so that your class sizes weren't necessarily impacted by what school you were zoned for. And then you can also see we've done the same at the middle schools. And then Horace Greeley High School is a little bit different, because kids take all sorts of sections based on preference, but you can generally see what those class sizes look like across the main core subject areas. And so we also wanted to share with you at this point, the district will move forward with whatever happens on the 18th in terms of a final process with the budget. So either the budget is approved and what we have proposed to the community is adopted, or the budget is not approved and we move into a contingency budget. And in a contingency budget, we need to reduce about 3.5 million from our budget, and we have rules that we need to follow that are governed by regulation. And so in a contingency budget, so let's say the budget doesn't pass and we move towards contingency, we're going to need to make reductions, and 9.13% of those come from administrators. So you can see that that would be positions and specific lines. And then we would have to reduce about 1.8 million from the program. And again, that would be faculty positions, stipended positions, non-essential transportation costs. Our extracurricular program would be impacted. Our athletics would be impacted. So we would have to look at, what would be reduced based on the need to be able to balance the budget. And then our capital line is required to be reduced. So that would be reduced by about $1 million. And so you can see some of what that would look like and what we would be talking about if we were, if the board were adopting a contingency budget. And I also want to note, because I think it's just important for everyone to have an understanding of this, that if we move to contingency, the district can't supplement facilities use for outside groups. And so what that means is that anyone using our spaces, the PTA, the recreation programs, sports boosters, theater, all of that would have to be real cost. So we wouldn't be able to offset some of those costs, which we do within our budget. And so we would have to talk about what outside groups would be able to use our facilities. And then we would have to talk about what that would cost, because we're not allowed by regulation to contribute to any of those any outside activities in the operation of using our spaces for events that are not our own. Did you want to add?
Yeah,
something?
so I also wanted to just add with the contingency budget, there are rules and regulations that dictate how funds get spent and what latitude a district has versus going strictly by what state regulations are. And that's a really important thing that would affect us throughout an entire school year.
Right. So again, just to summarize, our proposed budget is about 140,700,000, and which is an increase of about $2.4 million. And what we feel like our proposed budget responds to the strategic questions, maintains our operating standards, supports emotional safety, physical safety, supports professional learning, and we have some increases in here for our extracurricular program. It commits to lower class sizes across the district. It reduces the use of fund balance to balance the budget, because in the previous budget, we were using $3.5 million, and now we're around $2.7 million. And it's tax cap compliant, which means 50% of those voting would need to approve the budget in order for the proposed budget to be ratified by the board. And so just in terms of the voter information, it's the same. If you want to check your voter status, or you want to talk to Lisa about an absentee ballot, just certainly contact her. You can give her a call. You can send her an email, and she's available to you. And if you want to check your status, she can do that for you as well. And so if you have any questions about the budget, we'll answer them in the Q&A tonight. I'm not seeing any. So if there are any that people want to add, Adam, Jamie, and Andrew are also with us tonight in case the questions span beyond Josh and I go into any of their areas with specificity. We're all here to answer those questions. And then our next step in this process would be the budget hearing on June 11th, and that's by regulation. And then after that, we would send our mailing home to our families and announcing the specifics of the vote, which we're required to do by law. And then on the 18th, we'll have our voting here in the gym from 7 to 9 p.m. And then on the 20th, the board will meet and ratify the budget. And whatever that is will depend on the results from the election. And we're going to go back to the class sizes again for the middle school, because someone is asking us to do that. But this presentation will be posted online. So you can see here that the class sizes are pretty even between both buildings. So, but the sectioning is different based on enrollment. So, just so you can get a better look at that. But again, this will be online if you'd like to look at this in more detail, or if you have questions, you can certainly give us a call tomorrow and we can answer them, or we can be more specific about this slide. But we really made a concerted effort through this budgeting process to respond to concerns that parents were sharing with us about class sizes based on where the schools were zoned. And we are in the process in our strategic plan of looking at doing a demographic study to determine whether or not we have to potentially look at the zoning to see if we can balance this out a little bit better in the future by reconfiguring the boundaries for each school. So that's part of our work moving forward, but the budget right now addresses real time what's happening. I had shared some of our security measures. We don't go too deep into that, but I did do a broad general overview, and I can't see who's asking that question on here because of the way that your name is framed. But if you would like, just email Josh and he will call you tomorrow and go over our specific security protocols and answer your questions in more depth. But I can tell you, as someone who understands what's happening in other districts. I feel like we've been really progressive in how we've addressed school safety and security in this particular district, and we're always looking to evolve what we've been engaged in. So we, the SROs that are currently in place are staying in place, and we're continuing to build and enhance on what we already have, in addition to working with our experts and practicing our protocols and procedures on a regular basis with our students and our staff.
So there's some questions about class size and showing what the numbers of that our students are the class size this year and the numbers are next year. We're looking at the number of sections that are budgeted for next year. There've been some shift in class sizes from our spreadsheet, but we want to make sure that you understand that next year's class sizes are what we are focusing on to keep those as consistent as possible.
Okay, so we'd like to thank everyone for attending. I'm not seeing any additional questions in there. And so if you have any questions after this presentation, again, we're going to record it. We're recording it. We're going to put it online. And if you have any questions at all, certainly you can reach out to any of us and we'll be happy to answer them. And thank you for joining us tonight. I know that this is a busy time for everyone, but we wanted to provide the opportunity for people to hear from us directly about the new proposed budget and then be able to answer your questions real time. But of course, we're available between now and the vote, be able to talk with you about whatever you would like to discuss regarding the budget. So thank you, everyone. I want to thank my colleagues for being here, and I hope you all have a nice evening. Thank you.